Today I'm gonna be doing a special video, so stay tuned. As my name's Ish and you're watching Random Ish TV, and today I'm gonna be doing a special video. Today I'm gonna be ranking my top 5 favorite or best Michael Jackson albums. Yes, if you've checked out my channel, I don't know, I guess it's a little obvious. I'm kind of a Michael Jackson fan. Okay, I'm not just a fan. I'm a stan. A Michael Jackson stan. Dang right I am. But, okay, this video, I don't know how some of the moonwalkers and Michael Jackson community are gonna, feel about it. I mean, I'm not necessarily trashing, like, Michael Jackson albums. I'm just giving my personal opinion and slight review, just ranking on the Michael Jackson albums from least favorite, top 5, least favorite to what I feel is the best. So some people may not like it. And as some of us may know, in the Michael Jackson community, we could be a little crazy sometimes. We taught the Beehive everything they know. Yeah. We are the original Beehive. Yeah. But let's get right into the ranking reviews. And I'm just going to give a little bit of my opinions, like, about what I feel or about what I feel like makes the albums not so quite top 3, I would say, of my list. But oh yeah, before we even get into that, make sure you like this video, share it, hit the bell for notifications. And yeah, I have to say that because of the algorithms and everything, which my last video on the channel did pretty well. It actually turned out to be my first review that did numbers like that. So like I said in my 100 subscribers video, this is the road to 1 million. Road to 1 million. So hit the bell for notifications and subscribe. All right, let's jump right into the list. Coming in on my number 5 is an album that came out in 1979. Yes, if you were born around that time, already know what's coming. It is the Off the Wall album. Give us songs like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, Rock With You, She's Out of My Life, Working Day and Night, Off the Wall, you get it. All right. First things first, let's get into a little bit of my critiques about the album. Do I think it's as good as everybody says it is? I don't. Okay, let me explain. This is Michael fresh off the Wiz, fresh off the Destiny album with his brothers. We're just getting his first glimpse of solo, his first real solo achievement, because I don't necessarily count the albums he did with Motown as solo projects because his brothers were still singing backgrounds on pretty much all those songs. Okay, but for the Off the Wall, this is his first debut as a solo full artist. But I don't know, to me the album has always seemed like it's still like disco-y. So I never really get too much into it. Pretty much all the singles off the album are the ones that I like. So for Working Day and Night, I never really liked that song. Like, I don't know why. And even the performances for that song, for some reason, I just don't like that song. I don't know what it is. And the funny thing about it is when I was little, I didn't like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. I never liked that song. Literally grew on me, and now I love Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. I think it was the video. I didn't like the video when I was little because it was just very cheesy. Like, Rock With You was always my jam. Rock With You and Off the Wall. But She's Out of My Life is like, it's okay. Michael crying, and then, it's like, yeah. And then the other songs, this album has a lot of album fillers on it. For those of you who aren't familiar with the term album filler, it's like a lot of songs that are just put on the album for runtime. And yeah, I feel like this album has a lot of them. A lot of album fillers. Good things about the album. Michael is at his vocal best. We get a lot of good vocal quality for Michael. He's around 21, 22, his early 20s. And he still has a lot of those soulful belts and those gospel-y, R&B, smooth, jazzy. Like, his voice is very healthy at this point in his life. It's healthier than I felt it was in later years and later albums, because he started relying way more on Stax vocaling, stacking his vocals when he would record them. And yeah, it was good. It was still good later on, but this is still, we get him. Like, okay, the arrangements on the album, it's Quincy Jones, so the arrangements of the compositions of the music, they're still good. It's just, I don't know, to me, Off the Wall it's a little tad bit overrated in the community. That's just my opinion. Moonwalkers don't attack me. I repeat, moonwalkers do not attack me. I'm a Michael Jackson stan at the end of the day, but I do feel if I was around Michael at that time, some songs I would be like, bruh, that song is not that good. I'm sorry. And then if you go back and hear some demos that weren't on the album, it's like, you could have went with that song, but you chose this song. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, that's my little slight rant on Off the Wall. Yeah, it's coming in at number 5 on my list. Moving right along. We're in the 90s. Yes. Okay, right before all the craziness started. My number 4 Michael Jackson top album is going to have to be Dangerous. The girl is so dangerous. Dangerous came out in 1991, gave us songs classics such as Black or White, Remember the Time, Heal the World, Will You Be There, In the Closet, Give In to Me, Gone Too Soon, Why You Want to Trip on Me, a lot of, Jam. Okay, getting back to the critiques. Okay, the reason why this album comes in so low is kind of the same reason why as Off the Wall. To me, this album has a lot of songs that I didn't necessarily think were his best. I don't know if it seemed like because the album previous didn't do so well, like at the Grammys, or he didn't get as many accolades for his previous album before the Dangerous album. Like, I don't know if he didn't care as much anymore, or he was just, don't get me wrong, the album's still a banger. It's Michael Jackson. The album is still a banger. It's Michael frickin' Jackson. But I can still be critical of him even though I'm a stan. I have to repeat that. Moonwalkers are a little crazy. I have to keep repeating that. I'm sorry. Okay, I still really love this album. I still really love a lot of the singles off this album. Black or White and the visuals for them. Remember the Time, Heal the World, Will You Be There. I used to call it the Free Willy song when I was little. Okay, it's like, remember earlier when I was talking about, okay, he started to rely heavily on stacking his vocals because at this time, I think a lot of wear and tear had been done to his voice. Remember, this is a person who has been singing live from the age of 5. Not back then in the 70s or in his era, you didn't have the inner ears like everybody else. Like people rely on now to perform. You had to use your real ears to hear, to make sure that you're on key with the band in a big stadium where there's tons of people screaming and reverbing and all this stuff. The audio, the speakers is hitting you back. So you have to keep in time. A lot of people really don't take that into consideration, but I used to always think like, wow, like to be able to do that. And now you see performers, like some performers, if they don't have those inner ear monitors, they're stuck because a lot of people don't have a good ear. But a lot of performers from the back in the day really don't get credit. You had to actually have talent. And this is a performer who from the age of 5, who has been doing that. And now in the 90s, as years goes on, a lot of people started to notice Michael started to use a lot of playback. He didn't sing live anymore throughout the 90s. And his vocal range was stumped, or his voice was stumped throughout the 80s. And the Bad Tour took a toll on his voice because he was singing and dancing live pretty much through the whole tour. So throughout the 90s, if you watch the Dangerous Tour, and mostly the History Tour. The History Tour is when it was all playback. He was miming the whole show pretty much, except for certain parts. The Dangerous album, like I said, going back to my first point, it falls in the same line as, it has slight bit album fillers on there, like some songs I don't really like as much, like Jam. I'm sorry, I may get crucified for this, but I never liked that song that much. I'm sorry, I do not know why. I get it. He always liked to put the number one songs or the number one singles or the first songs on the album as the openers. I was never crazy about that song. I'm sorry. He tried to go in the hip hop direction, because of the 90s, hip hop was taking over. So, Michael was always staying ahead with the trends and all that stuff. I just thought that song's overrated. I'm sorry. Even the title track, Dangerous. We love the live performances. Okay, I get it, but it just got to a point to where when he would go on an award show, he would always perform that song most of the time. It's like, okay, we get it. You can dance. We get it. You could dance pretty good. But I just thought that's another song that's kind of overrated to me. Yeah, I used to fast forward that performance a lot when watching a concert or something. Yeah, but overall, this album, like I said, he's Michael freaking Jackson, okay? So the album is still a banger, okay? Moving right along to my number 3 Michael Jackson best album of all time would have to be, drum roll please. Okay, there's no drum roll, but some people may find this a little bit confusing, but I'm about to explain why. Number 3 is going to have to be the best album of all time, Thriller itself. Now, before you get angry, before you click off, let me explain why. This album is regarded as the best album of all time. Yes, that it is. Arguably so. But I don't know, for me, Thriller, while it has classics, and it is a classic work of art, yes, from the compositions, the instrumentation, the vocals, the writing, the visuals that we get from this album, it's a masterpiece. Yes, it is, to be cherished for time and times to come. But I'm sorry, I'm a critic. I'm a musician. I write. I just, sorry, this album has some album fillers on it as well. Yes, it does. Need I say Baby Be Mine, Girl Is Mine, just to name a few, yeah. Lady in My Life, it barely make it, but the ending, he goes off on the ending, so that's what saves it. But the rest of the album is pretty solid. You got Wanna Be Starting Some, a party starter that was actually a demo that was supposed to go on Off the Wall, but he saved it for Thriller. What else? We got Billie Jean, Beat It, Human Nature. That if that song is not a vocally, like, bruh, Human Nature alone. And then, okay, we got the title track, Thriller, which I can understand why. Okay, I heard Quincy Jones in an interview say once that a lot of people in the 80s, around when this album came out, did not understand Thriller, the song. I could get that. What the heck is a thriller? And then when the video came out, they had the moment like, oh, that's a thriller. Oh, the werewolf, yeah, the zombies. Okay, that's a thriller. I get it. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. I used to call werewolves thrillers when I was little. Yep. But yeah, so Thriller, while it is not number 1 on my list, it is still in my top 3 because yes, I still get why this album is the best album of all time. It will forever be the best album of all time. In my book, at least. I mean, I don't know no others. And number 2, that means we only have one more left after this one. Number 2. Some people may find this a shocker. Well, if you know me, this isn't a shock. Just saying. Coming in on my number 2 spot of classic best Michael Jackson albums is the Invincible album, baby. Oh yeah, the Invincible album. This album is, of course, Michael Jackson's last studio album that he put his final stamp of approval on. This came from his creative genius. All that's rubbish that came after his passing, I don't count that stuff. I'm sorry, I just don't. Like, there's a lot of people in the fan community who may agree with me. I just don't necessarily, yeah. That's, to me, those are cash grabs from the estate. Just my opinion. This classic album, to me, I call it a classic, and it deserves to be on my number 2 spot. Reasons why. Well, I'm looking at it from, not only is this album nostalgic for me personally, I always looked at it as the point of this is, well, of course, after he died, I looked at it as this is the last final studio album we got from Michael Jackson. That, to me alone, really puts this in a perspective of, okay, this is Michael after the 80s, after the 90s. This is him after he had 2 marriages, after he had children, he became a father, after all the craziness with those bogus allegations. This is him after, you know, he's a seasoned, mature adult after the glory days, all of that stuff. And this is him, I don't know, I feel like this is a side of him that we only get to see once. Because, of course, he passed away in 2009, so we didn't get to see what was coming next. And then, of course, after this album, all the craziness with those bogus court cases that came in 2003, 2005. So this was really the end of that era, because he didn't go on tour for this album. Because, of course, 9/11 happened that year. A lot of artists were canceling their tours. A little bit about this album, we get like classic songs like You Rock My World, Butterflies, his favorite from the album, Unbreakable, Break of Dawn, we get Heaven Can Wait, we get Speechless, we get You Are My Life, Threatened. The only song I didn't really like from this album, I'm not gonna lie, I never really liked it, I still fast forward the song, is 2000 Watts. That song never grew on me. Yeah, I would have told him to leave that off. Okay, the reason why I think You Rock My World, if you just listen to that track, the instrumental of that track alone, go in your car, get the instrumental of that track, and just listen to it. Like, I don't think Rodney Jerkins gets his credit enough. He put his foot into that track. Then Michael comes and puts his vocals and dynamics on it. It's like, that thing is slamming. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. Then you got Butterflies, Michael, his era. Basically, this is era's version of Human Nature. Him doing Marsha Ambrose, him doing his, like, the highs, the lows, his take on neo soul, R&B, like, smooth type of thing. Like, then you got Cry. Cry is another anthem I think is really great, in the same vein of Heal the World type of thing going on. I would have loved to see what a tour for this album would have looked like. I always wish that he would have went on tour for this album. But of course, this is, of course, around the same time when his whole back and forth with his record company started to, take a turn for the worse, and them doing stuff to sabotage his promotion and albums. So yeah, unfortunately, we really didn't get that much from this album, except for, of course, his reintroduction to the public with the 30th anniversary concerts that took place the same weekend as 9/11. Yeah, like, I would have loved to see what he would have done with this. We only got, 2 videos from this. The Cry video for Cry, then the video for You Rock My World. Yeah. I think will over time be regarded as a classic album. People may not, I don't know, just go back and listen to it, and your opinion may change. If you didn't like that album when it came out, or you let the public opinion at that time, because remember, around that time, it was a lot of shady stuff going on in the media. They were really, at that time, really trying to sabotage him. And then that whole decade, the craziness ensued pretty much. And then he was dead by the end of the decade. So yeah, over time, I think that's going to be an album that's appreciated. I always loved the album, so that, I don't know, Invincible holds a special place in my heart. So yeah, I really appreciate that album. All right, here is the moment we've all been waiting for. If you've stuck around this long to find out what is my number one best Michael Jackson album of all time. Are you ready for it? You sure? Are you sure you're ready for it? I'm just joshing you. The number one list for the best Michael Jackson album of all time would have to be Bad. Oh yeah. Album Bad. This album came out in 1987. It was the album that pretty much has the most singles off of it. Well, at that time at least, especially for Michael. He wrote pretty much almost all the songs on the album except for two, which would be Just Good Friends and what's the other? Man in the Mirror. This album, of course, had the most visuals for it. You got the video for Bad. You got, even Speed Demon has a video. You got the video for The Way You Make Me Feel. You got the video for Dirty Diana. You got the video for Man in the Mirror. You got the video for Smooth Criminal. You got the video for, am I forgetting one? Liberian Girl. You got the video, Leave Me Alone has a video. Leave Me Alone was a bonus track. Yeah, another part of me kind of has a video, I guess. The reason why Bad for me is the number one best Michael Jackson album of all time is because for me, I always felt like this album did what he wanted to accomplish with Off the Wall and Thriller. Michael, before he set out to make the trilogy with Quincy Jones, the classic trilogy, he said he wanted to have all these singles, the visuals, all of that stuff. He wanted basically every song on this album sounds like its own thing. It sounds different from the rest on the album. That's what he did with this album. This album did not get the accolades that I feel it deserves, that he felt it deserved. If you watch the 1988 Grammys, when he sat in the audience and was snubbed, completely snubbed that night, after he did that great, outstanding performance for Man in the Mirror, he was snubbed that night. And you could definitely see the turn. This was definitely around the time the media started to turn against him. They started calling him Wacko Jacko, and all this crazy stuff started to happen around the time. That also has a lot to do with him buying the catalog around that time as well. But we're not going to get into that. That's for another video. It doesn't really have that many album fillers on it. I was never a fan of Liberian Girl when I was little, but over time it has grown on me. And now it's to the point where I appreciate every song on this album. A lot of people don't like Just Good Friends, the song he did, the duet with Stevie Wonder. I always loved the song. And like I said, this is the album where Quincy wanted him to write pretty much all the songs on the album. So this really gives us Michael's world, from the visuals that we get, all of it. So I really feel like he deserved more with this album that he even got with Thriller. Oh, this album also had Michael go on his first world tour, his first solo world tour, because every tour before this, the Bad tour was with his brothers, but this was his first by himself out front tour that we get. And pretty much he never went on tours again with his brothers after the Victory Tour. And Thriller didn't really get a tour. You could kind of call it the Victory Tour, the tour for Thriller. Off the Wall didn't really get a tour either, but I guess you could call it the Triumph Tour, the tour for Off the Wall. So yeah, this is pretty much the first tour he went on by himself for one of his solo albums. Yeah, so it's pretty much, the 80s were Michael Mania. I still feel, Bad is the better of, especially out of the Quincy Jones trilogy, I feel Bad is the superior album because it's a complete, perfect album. From the visuals, from the songs, the lyrics, everything was him at his peak. This was the peak of Michael. Thriller was his introduction. He was just becoming the king of pop. Bad really solidified it. This was his peak. Dangerous, he was already all of those things. Dangerous was the time where he was just it was solidified that this was the king, period. And then everything after that, it was like history, and everything coming after that was just like a compilation, like the best of era type of thing, like all his eras. Like he was just putting on Michael Jackson at that point. But I really feel like Bad and Dangerous were his best eras, like, of fame. Well, I kind of said that wrong. The Bad tour was pretty much his best performances. Like I said earlier, he sang live throughout the whole concerts. He would dance, doing all the dancing, and yeah, he was the man at that point. His moves became more sharper, more defined. That's the era when he was pretty much able to just stand there while people fainted for like 20 minutes and not do anything. He was the king at that point. So yeah, there you have it. There is my breakdown of my top 5 Michael Jackson best albums. If you have Michael Jackson best album list, let me know in the comments down below. Or if you disagree with my list, let me know in the comments down below why. But if you liked it, remember to like this video, share it, hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you next time on Randomish TV. Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Ish, and you're watching Randomish TV.